Alright, it's saying we're live. I'm not seeing a video yet. Let's give it just a second. Here we go. Okay. Hi guys, welcome to Dead. In other words, this is the Depressed Entrepreneur Author Diary. I guess that's really just the new name for my vlog. I didn't realize I'd forgotten I started a vlog like a month and a half ago. So that's kind of weird that I have no memory of doing that. Today I just got inspired to do a mental health YouTube channel. So, a little about me. I am a self-published author. Right now I have 4 books out on Amazon. I was thinking I should put those down in the link in the description. I forgot. Maybe I'll update that later, maybe not. But if you look me up, it's just Mariah K. Porter. I'm on Amazon. I'm also an entrepreneur. I've wanted to start my own business, and I've started, I started businesses the way that a kid sells lemonade at a lemonade stand. Never actually done that, but I've been going for a long time now doing this kind of stuff, and now I'm going to school for it. And my friend and I are actually starting a boutique together, a mental health self-care boutique where we offer products related to self-care. So that's pretty cool, super fun. Our first products are online. That's called Oh My Sunrise Boutique. I think the website's ohmysunrise.com. And now that I'm talking, my cat is over here being noisy and annoying. Anyway, I love her, but got my first cat like 2 months ago. Yeah, she's supposed to be an emotional support animal, and she's usually good at contributing to my mental health instead of taking away, but kind of varies. Yesterday was a bad day. Anyway, so here I'm going to be open about my mental health struggles and things I've gone through and things that still affect me and just what I'm going through just to help normalize it, because if you struggle with mental illness, you are not alone. I have anxiety and depression, and I have for as long as I can remember. I'm still figuring out the anxiety because I didn't know I had anxiety until I was 19. I thought those were all just symptoms of depression. So I'm still trying to figure out what the difference is and how to take care of both of them. Um, so that's bit about me, bit about what I'm doing. I think that's as much as I want to do for the introduction. As for the actual diary thing, here we go. There's been one thing that's been really on my mind lately. Uh, Not something that I've admitted is on my mind. But this last April, this year, 2020, I was suicidal, and at this time, okay, this is kind of sucky, but it seems like whenever I get to the point where I'm depressed and suicidal, my husband is also at his worst. He has some very, very like mild depression. Like usually it's like it's non-existent, but that's just because he bottles things up and acts normal. And so he kind of crashes and explodes at the same time that I get suicidal. And like he's totally a white personality, but I don't think I am, so I don't know what's really up with that. Anyway, um, this time he was really, really angry at me, and he brought up divorce, and he was adamant that he wanted a divorce, and just kept talking about it. And I was already suicidal, which apparently he didn't realize I was suicidal at the time. Once he finally did realize it, it was 11:40 at night on on April 11th, and he called the cops because he didn't know what to do. And the cops took me to the ER, and nope, get down, you're hurting me. And you're making it hard to concentrate, Kitty. The cops took me to the ER, and they just put me in one of those rooms, the glass doors, and they just watched me for most of the night. And that was the worst night of my entire freaking life. rivaled only by the next two. um, it really freaking sucked. Okay, they were treating me like I was gonna hurt myself or somebody else, and I don't do that when I'm depressed. I was suicidal and I was planning on killing myself, but I didn't actually have a plan yet because the only thing that's ever really stopped me is the fact that I am terrified that it's not going to work and I'll just end up crippling myself and I'll just live the rest of my life as a cripple. That would be worse than death, way worse. I'm not afraid of death, honestly. So that's probably another thing. I don't know. But I was at the ER for about 12 hours and then they took me to one of those mental health clinics and I sat in a room for 4 hours and just bawled. And the psychiatrist was um, convinced, she was ultimately convinced that I needed to stay there for at least a month. And I had no choice in any of this. I had no say. I didn't get to just say that, like, I needed to go home and finish talking things out with my husband because he'd brought up divorce. And that was the last thing I knew was that he was adamant on divorcing me. And I couldn't talk to him and I couldn't go home. I couldn't leave. Like, I had no say in anything. I kind of think that that should not be a thing because that was honestly the most traumatizing thing I've ever gone through. Uh, and that's just the start of it. The next couple of days were just as bad. So, the they like instituted me. I don't know what you call it, but they had no room in the depression wings. I don't know if it's just because it was Easter or what, or like spring break and extra people were there. I don't know. Um, so they put me in the same area as all the people who were there for like drug and drinking rehab. And I don't know if it's one or both, or I didn't really know. No one really told me anything. They were just like, we're putting you over here because they're out of beds over there. And the next day was Sunday, and they didn't really do anything, and no one really talked to me. Oh, not to mention, at this time, that next day was Sunday, or it was Easter Sunday. Easter's kind of a big holiday for me. I had plans, and my daughter was only 2 months old, and I was still pumping, and I had to get up every 2 to 3 hours to pump milk, and I couldn't even get a full night's sleep. Uh, and then that first day, I was just stuck there on Easter Sunday on my sister's birthday. Couldn't even tell my sister happy birthday. And um, one of the worst days of my life. I can't even begin to describe why, honestly. If you can't feel for what I was feeling at this, for me, if you can't feel for me what I was feeling at that point, I don't know what else I can say without writing it down. Because writing is, I'm better at writing than talking. Um, so I did get to call my husband, but that wasn't good enough. We really needed to have a face-to-face conversation. Um, and that night, Easter night, I'd finally gotten to sleep and there was a tornado. Turns out that tornado destroyed a huge chunk of Chattanooga. And I've never even like witnessed a tornado before. That was the first time for me. So that was not fun. Not to mention it's COVID and we were supposed to be social distancing and wearing masks. First of all, they didn't even have us wear masks in the hospital. None of us except for the like nurses and staff were wearing masks, and the rest of us weren't social distancing or anything. So I really hope nobody ever let COVID into there, but people are just checking themselves in whenever they want to, so I don't know how that works. Anyway, where was I? the Sorry, I need to not get distracted here. So yeah, they crowded like 20 or 30 of us into the little hallway during that. And I just figured I would just stay up for another hour or two till it's time for me to pump again. It sucks breastfeeding when you don't have a baby to breastfeed with you. It sucks being away from your baby when they're that little anyway, especially if it's not by choice. Um, I think it was the day after that, I think it was Monday. Actually, I don't know if anything happened on Monday. I think it was Tuesday that I finally got to talk to a psychiatrist, but it was the same one And she still did not believe me. She still didn't believe that I would be safe going home, that that was the best thing for me. And it really was. Like, being stuck there without a choice, knowing that where my husband had left off with me was way more traumatic than uh, like just that's what needed resolved. So like I went to the normal classes and everything, and it was all stuff I'm very familiar with because I have done a year or two of DBT, and I'm very familiar with that. That's basically what they were doing. None of it really helped me at that point. For the most part, I had calmed down, but I still felt like, stuck. Not flight or fight, like fight or flight mode, but not fight or flight. It was more like freeze mode, the and let's see, distracted by the neighbor outside. Yeah. So this psychiatrist, she told me that I could only go home if I agreed to come back and do the day program for a couple weeks. And I really, really hated the idea of that, but I said yes. I didn't think I'd need that either. And so finally let me go home. And my husband just kind of acted like nothing had happened. I guess he had talked to his dad, and his dad talked him out of it, and he didn't want to divorce me anymore. And everything, like he was, seeing everything in a new light, and he was back to his regular, responsible, mature self. Kind of funny to describe your husband as mature, men are most men I know are not very mature. Anyway, just kidding, but men are goofs. But where was I? So he was all like back to normal and like huggy and like everything will be okay, and like that was not the best closure for me. Like I feel like I never got closure from that event. So I think I talked to my husband about it a little bit more. But just, that was very, very traumatic. And, like, we're gonna be okay. I don't think we'll ever end up getting divorced or anything. Like, when we're both in a healthier state, we're a very good, strong couple. And that's not even in the picture at all. It's just when he crashes and I'm really depressed that happens. Hopefully that stops happening. We're both going to therapy right now. Um, but just those feelings, like that feeling from, uh, him bringing that up and being that adamant, and then sending me away, like calling the cops on me and having them take me away. Just, I'm not over it. Usually I'm fine. Usually it's not something that I think about. Like, I don't need to bother thinking about it, but sometimes it just comes back up, and sometimes I'm terrified that it'll happen again. Sometimes I feel like it'll definitely happen again, and I don't know that it will, but just the possibility that it's out there, that it could happen, is hard. And it's mostly related to the rest of my depression. Because, sometimes reality hits me of just how awful a person I am when I'm depressed. Um, like, my husband was just home for like 2 weeks because of COVID. He tested positive. So they paid him to stay home for 2 weeks at work. So that was good. And I was thinking we'd get so much done, but I was just a lump on the couch the entire time. Uh, like I really needed that break, but I thought I was going to use that break differently. And uh, I do think it was helpful, but I was just useless. And like I didn't even change like a single diaper that whole time. Both of our kids are still in diapers. One of them's 3, one of them's like 7 months now. And I think I actually did cook a meal or two. I did help clean a tiny bit. I did a lot of homework. I actually wrote a whole novelette. So, I mean, it's not like I was not productive, but I wasn't helpful. I wasn't a partner with my partner. Like, I didn't help in all the ways that I know that I should have, the way that I picture myself helping, what I want to do. And the yesterday was his first day back at work, and my son asked for Kindle time, and he paid for it with a gem, which is our current policy. He uses gems for things like using the potty, and he gets half an hour for one gem. And I fell asleep before that half hour is up. And once I woke up, me and the baby, once we both woke up, we took a nap together. I just didn't bother to take it away from him because I was just so stressed at the idea of what will I do to entertain him. Like, he's such a high energy toddler and he always wants my attention, and I'm anxious and depressed about so many things, and I just can't focus and I can't handle that. And so I just let him play on his Kindle till his dad got home, and he was on his Kindle for like 4 hours. And that's a bad day. That's not every day. That's happened before, and it's not something I ever want to happen again. But the depression just makes me feel so useless, like I can't do anything. And I don't know how I'm gonna get to a point where that's not the case. Like, I'm working on it, I'm always working on it. But it's hard. And I don't know. But I know I'm not alone. I know I'm not the only mom who struggles like this and struggles with these kinds of things. So if you're like me, in any regards, whether you're a mom or not, you're not alone. You'll make it through this. I know I'll make it through this. It just looks impossible sometimes. But like, looking back a year from now, about a year from now is a year and a half ago, is when I started to really try to make progress in my life. That's when I got to the point in my depression where I could. And I have made a ton of progress since then. I've come so far. And I know if I keep it up, I'll get through this, and I'll eventually, I don't know if I'll ever be a normal mom, but at least I'll be a better functioning mom, and I think that's probably what matters. So, there's the cat. What's she doing? Hi. Anyway, I think that's about all I want to talk about. I brought up to my husband before, when I'm feeling this way, afraid of what'll happen, and he just doesn't know what to do. I mean, he's high functioning autistic, and he doesn't usually know what to do about emotions in the first place. Which his autism has actually been a huge blessing. I probably would have been divorced by now if I'd married anyone else, anyone who wasn't autistic, just because he can handle the depression, my symptoms, a lot better than a normal person could. And I can tell you that's a fact, because I grew up with a bunch of people who weren't autistic, and they did not handle me well. Yeah. And I don't know what he would do if, like, what else he would really have to say if I brought this up again. I probably should. It's not healthy to hide things from your spouse, and it's not like I really am hiding this. I'm just too depressed to talk about it. But that's not a good thing either. Like, he does want to help me, even if it's the same old problem. Anyway, I hope that if you struggle too, that this has been helpful for you, seeing what it's like in the life of another depressed person. And I will be back, hopefully not too often, because as long as I'm talking about depression and anxiety, I'm hoping these things get better and that I don't have a ton to talk about. But the healing process is also something to talk about. So, yeah, that's it for now. Thank you for watching, and I will see you later.